Hi everybody, welcome back to the Retro Ghetto, and today we're going to be taking a look at Greek mythology in video games.
Well, you know about Retro Ghetto, collecting and playing retro. Street Fighter on the Nintendo, I'm a veteran at this, not a pro. Lock into the Retro Ghetto, come and have a look around in the ghetto. We got Sonic and Staples Settle, lock into the Retro Ghetto.
Okay, so Greek mythology. This came about because the other day I was playing my Switch, and I was bouncing between two different games that are currently in my rotation, and they're both heavily inspired by Greek mythology. I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology myself, as all my tattoos all over my body would attest to. And I started to think to myself, how many games out there are based in that universe? And the answer is a lot. So I thought it might be an interesting video for me to highlight some of the ones that I find interesting. Quickly before I get into it, I just want to make you aware I didn't cover PC games. I tried to stick to console. There's a lot of sort of godlike simulators, Age of Empires, that kind of thing on PC. And I've also tried to show you a few of the more interesting games, a few more different games, and trying to cover as many genres as I can that are within the Greek mythology universe. So without further ado, let's crack into it. I started trying to do it in chronological order, and the first game that I wanted to highlight was Kid Icarus. This came out way back in 1986 on the original Nintendo. It's a cult classic. It's based in a Greek-inspired fantasy world. Basically, you're charged with the task of finding three sacred treasures on Angel Land, and which you then use to defeat the evil Medusa. It's an action platformer with some RPG elements, and that changes somewhat on the last level of the game when it becomes a bit more of a shooter. As I say, a cult classic this, and if you haven't, worth checking it out. If you're a big fan of the 8-bit franchises, then it's definitely worth taking a look. Okay, so from the Nintendo to the Mega Drive and all the way back from 1988, we've got Altered Beast. This was a side-scrolling beat-em-up, which was actually a pack-in game for the console when the Sega Mega Drive was first released in Europe. Now, basically, it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up, as I say. You go from left to right, and it's based in the world of ancient Greece. You play as a character that's been resurrected by Zeus to rescue his daughter, Athena, from the underworld. Through various power-ups, you can take the form of different beasts, such as a wolf, a dragon, a bear, and a tiger. In the original game, the end credits show that it was actually a staged film production all along. And it wasn't actually a battle between mythical beings. Thanks. Son's crying. Okay, so 1990 now, and the only shmup that made it onto this list, and that is Thunder Force 3. Whilst this isn't set in the traditional ancient Greek world, it does have a lot of Greek mythology references throughout. You choose which order you play the first 5 levels in, and they include Hydra, Gorgon, and Hades. The bad guys, Orn, have built a defense system named Cerberus, and it's your job to take down that empire. Listen, bit of a reach this one, but Thunder Force is such a badass series that I wanted to put this in the list. So definitely check it out. Thunder Force 3. Also, if you didn't know, this game's a bit of an oddity because although it did get a PAL release, it was only released here with a Genesis box art. You can actually order a Genesis sleeve to put in it if you like. But yeah, one to look out for. In 1991 on the Amiga now, there was Populist 2, Trials of the Olympian Gods. In one of the first godlike games, you take on the son of Zeus. And what you do basically is battle one god after another to prove to Zeus that you're able to sit alongside him in the pantheon of the gods. This is an isometric game, and it's very much similar to the first game, Populist, which I've got here on the Super Nintendo. However, in this version, it's an unnamed deity, whereas in the second version, you are specifically a Greek god. Okay, fast forward to 1997, and we are now in the world of PlayStation. Hercules. What a game. So this is largely an action platformer, which very much details the story and follows the story of the film. If you haven't seen the film, don't know why you're watching me, turn this off and make sure you go and watch it. This is a great game, as much as the film's a great film, so make sure you play this if you haven't checked it out. Hercules on the PlayStation, or to give it its actual title, Disney's action game featuring Hercules. Pain in the arse when I was trying to buy this game, trying to find it on CEX and eBay. Yeah. What did you put that under in the shop? D? A? H? From PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 now, with 2002's release of Rygar. This was originally an arcade game inspired by Greek and Roman mythology. In this 3D action game with fixed camera, you are imprisoned by a minotaur. Rygar then finds a disc armor, which is a legendary shield, and he is tasked to stop the Titans and restore peace to the Earth. This was later ported to the Nintendo Wii. That was given a Metacritic score of 52. Yeah. Okay, jumping forward now to the PlayStation 3. The year is 2008, and it is Rise of the Argonauts. This game features Medusa, Atalanta, Achilles, Hercules,
Odysseus, Perseus, Theseus. A lot of yesses.
2 years later now, in 2010, and continuing with the theme of film to game franchises, we take a look at Clash of the Titans. I wish I could tell you this was based on the 1981 epic. Sadly, it is based on the remake. And with a Metacritic score of 41%, it's probably as enjoyable as the remade film. Okay, it's 2011 now. We're looking at Legends of Troy. This game was released on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, and it differs from other games in the Legends series as it has a greater level of cinematic violence. That's all I'd need to know. 360 was cancelled in North America, and in this third-person hack-and-slash game, basically you're taking on large hordes of enemies. There's also a story mode available, and you can play on either side of the battle, playing as either the Greeks or the Trojans. 2015, and we're moving on now to the PlayStation 4, and we are looking at Apathy. This is a 2D action platformer, very unique art style based on Greek pottery. You play as Nicandrios. We're going to go with Nicandrios. Whom is held by Hera. He battles against the Greek gods after Zeus begins to punish humans on Earth. Sounds like 2020. He stops the gifts of life to Earth, including animals, food, and even daylight. Sadly, this was a digital release only, and it did get a decent Metacritic score of 76. So, if the physical ever comes available, I'd definitely be picking that up. If anyone has played this, let me know in the comments, because I need to know if it's worth me purchasing on digital. I hate buying digital games. Okay, so push forward a couple of years now to 2018, and we are looking at Ubisoft's almost annual release of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This plot tells the story of the Polynesian War between Athens and Sparta. You play as Mystios, who fights on both sides of the conflict. Turncoat. I enjoyed this one, although I did put about 20 hours in. I eventually got overwhelmed. And a little bored, if I'm being honest, at the sheer volume of side quests, some of which were very much monotonous fetch quests. Also, not as an avid fan of the Assassin's Creed series, it was a little jarring to 1 minute be fighting in the world of Athens and then be taken to a lab somewhere with what appeared to be a futuristic headset on. Maybe I'm just out of touch with the Assassin's Creed timeline, but I was very lost as to what was going on with this one. Overall, though, this is a really fun game, set in a really, really very nicely made cinematic universe. The graphics are stunning, and there is loads to do here. And a lot of mythological characters to kill, including Medusa and many, many others. If you're a fan of the Assassin's Creed series, definitely worth checking this one out. Okay, and here we are in 2020, and we've come full circle to the initial two games I was talking about on my Switch. The first of which is Hades. Now, Hades has recently, just this week I think, got Game of the Year awards, including Action Game of the Year and Indie Game of the Year. This was a roguelike game as you battle through procedurally generated halls of the underworld. Very deep immersive character design and customizable options here with lots of replayability. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but he plays Hades' son trying to get out of the underworld away from his father and join his uncle Zeus in the heavens. Definitely check this one out. Sadly, there's still no physical copy of this. I hold out hope, because even though I've got this digitally, I like it that much that I would buy it physical to show my support to the developers that are putting out fantastic indie games in 2020, and I think we should all be trying to do the same. Okay, so as I say, I was bouncing between two games. The first one was Hades, but the one that I haven't mentioned, Phoenix Rising, or Immortals Phoenix Rising. This is the first game I've bought on release day for many, many years. I think since, as I say, I was stung by No Man's Sky. Except for things like God of War, which I know are going to be guarantees. This is one of the first risks, if you like, that I've taken a gamble on day one. Now, what I would like to say is I'm about 35 hours into this game, and I'm absolutely loving it. I can't do a full review because I haven't completed it yet, but it's a brilliant game. It's basically Breath of the Wild, but with enough new mechanics that it feels fresh, and Ubisoft have added enough new things to it that, you know, it's not just it'd be doing it a dishonour to call it simply a Breath of the Wild clone. Besides, Breath of the Wild is one of the greatest games ever made, right? So if you're going to be comparable to something, it's not a bad game to be comparable to. What's really interesting about this game is it's narrated by Zeus and his friend stroke prisoner Prometheus. And they basically tell the story as you're going through it. Now, at times the voice acting is a little bit off. It's a little cringy, and it took me a little bit of time to get used to it. But the actual dialogue is hilarious, and it had me genuinely laughing out loud at times, which is rare for me with a video game. So yeah, can't recommend this one enough. Unless you're a huge fan of those kind of games or Greek mythology, I'd probably hang on a few months and pick it up cheaper. Plus, you know what Ubisoft are like, there is a few bugs in here, so they will keep releasing patches. So if you want to pick this up in 6 months to a year's time, when the game's been fully patched out and it's cheaper, that's probably the best way to do it. But I'm having so much fun with this game, and it is definitely a retro ghetto top tip to pick this one up. Okay, as I say, that brings us to 2020. I've gone through a list of games which I think are very interesting in the Greek mythology universe. I don't think I've missed anything. Right, I know what you're thinking. Where's God of War? Now, everybody that watches my channel knows I'm a huge fan of God of War. It's probably my favourite gaming franchise of all time. And I didn't want to just slip it in on this list. What I wanted to do is give God of War its own video, which I'm going to do probably going into 2021. So look out for that. So no shade thrown at Kratos. This guy deserves as much respect as he can get right now after what Fortnite have done to him. That's genuinely hurt me. So yeah, I'll be doing my own video on God of War in the new year, and I'm really looking forward to putting that together and putting a lot of detail into it. So that's why he's been omitted from this list. I wanted to focus on franchises and a few games that are probably lesser known and not spoken about as much. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun researching this and putting this together. As I say, I'm a big Greek mythology fan, so I've picked up a couple of games from doing this list that you'll see on my next pickups video, which will be coming out next week. I've got a huge pile, so yeah, hit the subscribe button and don't miss that. Also this week I'm going out and doing some game and toy hunting, finally, so I'll be doing some live game hunts soon as well. So yeah, there's a lot coming in the next few weeks that I'm really excited about. I've not had a chance. I want to thank you guys as well. We've just got over 400 subscribers. Huge shout out to everybody that's subscribed. It's much appreciated. Also, I was given YouTuber of the Month by the guys over at Gaming Off the Grid. To be getting recognised by, you know, such big YouTubers over stateside, it really does mean the world. So thanks to them. Shout out to everybody that subscribed off the back of that will come from their channel. Really appreciate it. You know, 2020 has been a shit year for everybody, but starting this channel and getting to know some of you guys and putting this content out there really has been a highlight for me. So I genuinely want to thank everybody that's took the time to comment, like, subscribe, everything. So yeah, without getting too carried away and getting too cheesy, I'm going to say goodbye. Yeah, subscribe, like, all that stuff, and keep it retro, play your games, and I'll see you on the next one.
Retro Ghetto.